Alright, what's up? It's Burst. We're here with week 6 of the MDL. This time we're facing Grant. And apologies in advance for weird or poor quality. I have a bit of a different setup, so I'm trying a bit of new things here. New things to know for this week. We have Maractus in the D5 spot. It will not be coming this week, but I'd like to mention it anyway. But just looking at Grant's team here, we have probably the scariest team drafted in the MDL, or at least one of the scariest. We have Lando T and Venusaur, which both run through my team. Sableye and Ninetales as Sunsetters. Then Jolteon, Isharna, and Azumarill. All very, very strong mods in their own right. And then for the low tiers, we've got Unpheasant, Steelix, Double, and what's his name? Drampa. So without any dabbling, we can go into our matchup this week. So first off, of course, their most likelies are Lando and Venusaur. They combined hit basically my entire team. So not much to really worry about that. I know they're coming. Now for the couldsees. First off, we have the two Sunsetters. One of the two is going to come, if not both. We have Ninetales and Sableye. Ninetales can do a decent chunk to some of my team, but also it gets decently chunked by a lot of my team. It can just tech Energy Ball and deal stuff like Rhyperior, but I say that for another day. We also have Sableye, who can do a lot to a lot of my team. Thankfully, I have priority and fast non-priority tech, so I'm not too worried about the Sableye here. We also have Jolteon, which comes basically every matchup, and it deals fairly well with the checks to the Lando, mainly that Jellicent. Though the reason it's in could see and not most likely to see is because Rhyperior exists. Azumarill is a very interesting mod because it hits a lot of my team very well neutrally, and it likes to come in a lot of the slower matchups. Steelix is here because ground types really have a field day with my team, because my I do have some ground resists for the low tier, and my ground immunities are Mesprit and Talonflame. Talonflame just gets bodied by rock, and Mesprit's are really only the real one. And finally, we have Misharna. Misharna comes a lot, especially for the slower modes, which I do see him bringing because my team doesn't like slower modes outside Rhyperior. And finally, the unlikely sees. Just the normal types, because they are very, very strong, or they're very, very weak to Urshifu. Even though that Unpheasant might not be able to hit Calcs, even though it's flying type. And I just have a lot of things to counter it with Magnezone and say Mr. Rhyme and Rhyperior. So I don't see those three coming. On my end, we have a lot more interesting must-brings and could-brings. Now, Jellicent has a decently good time with this team, outside of getting bodied by Jolteon, and the Venusaur having a field day, and it getting tanked by the Azumarill. Everything else just dies to Jellicent. So I do have a plan around Jellicent, and it's basically coming to all my matchups. We also have Morgrem here. Morgrem's an interesting must-bring, but mainly it's here because Sableye can't prankster it, which is huge. So it's got a lot of versatility in, say, setting up fake tiers for some of my special sweepers, and set up screens to protect my mods, and just fake out being very important. We also have Talonflame here. Talonflame is very important for setting up the Tailwind to counter-speed the sun. Now, Talonflame, it does of course get bodied by the Landorus, but I do desperately need that Tailwind for a lot of my strategies. Next on the Cudbrings, Rhyperior is here because even though it doesn't really like any of the tier 1s, it really likes to play against most of the tier 2s. Even that Azumarill, like, it's not a great matchup, but the physical bulk is so high that it can just deal with it. You also have Naganadel, and that's to deal with stuff like the Azumarill. It's just such a fast mon to deal with anything. It hits very neutrally into a lot of these things, so it's great to have. Mr. Rhyme is a very interesting one, because in the breakdown it was right. They were right about how, yeah, Mr. Rhyme has a pretty good chance at dealing with a lot of these mons, including the high tiers. But it's just too slow, I feel like. It's too slow, and it doesn't bring the same amount of oomph and emphasis with its attacks. It does have stab ice, and that's about all it has over the Mesprit in this matchup. Now, speaking of Mesprit, it has a bit better bulk than the Mr. Rhyme. It gets a lot of the same valuable moves like Ice Beam and Psychic, and it has Levitate, which is the main thing, so it can't get max quaked. I see Mesprit doing a lot of good here as an offensive mon, because even though it doesn't do much with stab Psychic moves, other than dealing with that Venusaur, it does a lot with its coverage. And finally, Maractus, because having Chlorophyll exists, but I don't think I'm going to bring it. My won't brings have no setup for Sceptile, not worth it. Magnezone, not worth it. It doesn't hit well into anything here at all. And finally, Urshifu. The top two sections of Grant's team has a really nice time with Urshifu just because of its speed. And like, even though, say, Steelix doesn't like it, and maybe Misharna doesn't like it, everything else has a really good time against that Urshifu. And they can all get some very solid damage. On the bottom half, I may end up seeing one of those mons, like in the unlikely to see, just because I don't think I'm going to bring Urshifu this matchup. But I do think I can brute force my way out of them. So, that being said, I think we're good for the team builder. Okay, so we got the team builder here, and first thing you see is my very offensive Mesprit with Life Orb, Modest, decently high special attack. So the main thing about this is that, combined with Morgrem, which we'll go over in a bit, Psychic can go through a max Venusaur. Ice Beam can go through a max Assault Vest. Actually, I'm not sure about Assault Vest, but a max Lando. And Dazzling Gleam, this is for coverage. Anyway, this is for reasons. So the match is very soon, so I'm gonna make this very quick. We have Mental Herb Gale Wings because I want to make sure that Sableye doesn't do too much this thing. We also have Protect for the Fake Out, Tailwind for Tailwind, Brave Bird, Taunt because I want to be able to get the Taunt onto the Sableye. Next is Rendoberry Rhyperior, which is a very, very interesting set. I know, right? It's very complex. Rock Slide for coverage, Ice Sprayer, or Rock Slide and Ice Sprayer for stab. They do their things. Ice Punch is for coverage, mainly for the Lando. Curse is because I'm not going to be outspeeding anything anyway. And I just want a little bit of a setup option. So I don't think Rhyperior is going to be doing much this matchup, I'm going to be honest. Next is Mortem, Focus Sash Prankster. We got Fake Out, Screens, and Fake Tears. Fake Tears is really for making sure the Mesprit is solid, and then the rest is, we're speed creeping something, I don't remember what. Oh yeah, we're speed creeping via Zoomeril, and the Stabilize to make sure our stuff goes off first. And then, Adamant Max Attack for the Fake Out, maximizing chip. We have Safety Guns and Guns to make sure that it doesn't get slapped by say, a defensive Venusaur set. Yeah, protect air slash slow charm Dragon Pulse, because I want to be able to spam Dragon Pulses outside of max. And yeah, speed creeping something. Finally, Jellicent. This is the most interesting set of all because we're running with speed investment and modest choice specs water spout. The main thing about this is that with Talonflame, setting up a Tailwind for it, a water spout, like full HP water spout with everything with the works, it can kill a ton on this team. It just mows through a lot of stuff, and the Tailwind will make it outspeed everything but a Chlorophyll Venusaur. And I made sure I can't outspeed the Chlorophyll Venusaur. So that being said, that's the team builder. I'll talk you through the match as soon as I can. Match will be played soon. See you then. Okay, so we're here with the match. So first off, I said it was going to be jank quality, and the team builder had horrible mic quality because I accidentally doubled up on it in OBS. Sorry about that. So we have a very interesting thing here. We basically predicted exactly what was gonna come. So we get the chance to bring literally whatever. So of course we're gonna lead Morgan Mesprit. This is the set lead that I planned for this because it deals with Bishar and Orlando all the way to Ninetales Venusaur. So it's a very wide variety of leads that this one deals with. So I'm fairly happy with the way I'm setting this up. I have Nagano as my third because I want to make sure I have something to deal with that Azumarill. I'm just trying to figure out what the fourth is going to be. I eventually decide on Jellicent here because I don't think Jolteon comes to round 1 because of Rhyperior. I know it's a bit of a high level read. Not high level read, but it's a bit of a stretch of a lead. Or a stretch of a read for this early on in the game. But it doesn't matter. We have the game starting. And Lando Musharna does get led. And this is one of the leads that I specifically prepped for. Sorry for the voice crack. It's one of the leads I specifically knew how to deal with. So I was just gonna deal with it immediately. I also realized here, like the oh shit moment, I forgot to prep for Orlando Max Bug, or really anything out of Orlando, especially if it outspeeds. So I fake out Musharna to make sure it doesn't get anything crazy off. And then I just max ice into the Lando. And I know that this max ice will kill it with the Life Orb boost. Even if it Dynamaxes, it will one-shot. And, yeah, now we're just waiting here. We do see the Lander is max, which is great for us because as long as we live whatever it comes out with, then we should be fine. Also, as long as the Mesprit lives whatever it comes out with, they have no max, which means we're on the upper hand for the rest of the game. So, Mesprit goes for the max. This time a very intended max and not the unintended max of week 1. Fake Out comes out. Misharna's dealing with it. The Max Knuckle goes into the Morgrim. Max Knuckle is very interesting here because it tells me that they don't really have anything to deal with the Musharna, or not the Musharna, the Mesprit, which is very interesting. Either that or they were undervaluing the amount of damage output that Mesprit has. I know some people really underrate Mesprit, but I'm telling you, it's pretty decent because it just one-shot a Max Lando. That's of course because it used a 4 times weak move, but the fact that it gets it is one of the reasons that it's so good. Anyway, so Morgrim is in an interesting spot because it's not at 1 HP, so it could live something. It also means it gets a pretty safe second move. I just can't rely on it getting a third. And as for Mesprit, I'm not sure what it's going to come out with. But we see the Ninetales. And it's pretty obvious here that Ninetales is supposed to set up the Drought mid-game and get the Venusaur set up in the back. So I know there's a Venusaur in the back now. And I think what my goal is I'm just going to max Mindstorm into the Ninetales and set up a light screen because the fact that I'm reading this, this Venusaur means that I'm reading the like everything else is special. So if I get the light screen off, we're pretty solid. Ninetales almost gets one shot, but we do see that it does have the sash, which means it's not Heat Rock, which is fairly interesting, in my opinion. And starting this turn, I started to get a little sloppy with my play, not gonna lie. So I decided I'm gonna go into Jellicent here after a little bit of thinking, because it deals with the Musharna the best, and I can have Nagano in the back to clean up the Venusaur. So I'm not going for pure differential here, I'm going for safety. And my main misplay, or not misplay, but sloppy play, it's more of a safe play to be honest, is that I'm going for the max Hailstorm into the Ninetales. But the main reason for that is I wanted to make sure it didn't get a move off. But I misread the speed of Ninetales entirely. And that's where it gets sloppy, because a Solar Beam just comes straight out into the Jellicent, who has basically no bulk. But thankfully the light screen saves it. Also, Curse Body does come out, but that doesn't matter, because Hailstorm goes straight into it anyway. So, correct play here was probably to understand that Ninetales was going to get a move off anyway. Hailstorm straight into the Sharna, and then Shadow Ball it as well. That was the safe play. Sorry, the correct play. But because I didn't do that, Musharna gets to live that Specs Shadow Ball. Also, I did go for the ice instead of anything else there, purely because I wanted to make sure that Venusaur didn't get the weather. So anyway, I didn't go for the necessarily bad play, it was really just the objectively worst play had I understood the speeds. So, this is a pure misplay. I go for Ice Beam instead of Psychic. I forgot that Venusaur was a poison type, and I specifically calced that Psychic so that it could kill the Venusaur at a max, and that in max it could kill the Venusaur at a max, and then with the fake tears it could kill a max Venusaur. So the Ice Beam is a pure misplay. but I did have the opportunity to kill this turn. We see the helping hand come out, so oh no, I'm scared. And Ice Beam comes out. And it doesn't kill, but it gets to freeze. And we also see the weakness policy come out. So first off, horrible hacks. So sorry, Grant. But also, had it not been... It was basically hack saving my ass. Because had I gone for the right play, it would have killed the Venusaur anyway, and we would have been done this turn. Giving Jelly the KO on the Musharna. But because we didn't do that, and because hacks is nice, we get to end this turn. And I decided I'm not going to reveal what psychic move I have, so I'm just going to go for Ice Beam. And of course, because of respect, we have to go Shadow Ball. So overall, last couple turns were a little sloppy. Also here, we do get knocked out by the Venusaur, which is another reason why it's sloppy play. Because I could have saved a point of differential right there. It's whatever. We get a safe win. Either way. And we also didn't reveal that we had Nagano in the back. So, pretty solid if you ask me. Now, next off, I'm realizing right here that I can't do a Talonflame. In the time between, I was realizing I can't do a Talonflame lead. Because in the case that they lead, they're very inclined to lead Ninetales Venusaur here. I would not be surprised if it happened purely because I would expect the guaranteed chlorophyll to just go off into the Jellicent and they want to protect that. So at first I'm like, okay, we can just run the same 4. But I'm also thinking they're probably prepping to make sure that the Jellicent goes down. Because they know that Mesprit's gonna come either way and take out that Lando. So I want to make sure I can take out something like the Jolteon with something else. Because I know that's probably going to be coming this game. So I bring the Rhyperior instead of Jellicent. And ultimately, that is the right read, that is the right call. But we'll get into that when that comes. So, Azumarill and Musharna is the lead. And this is an unexpected lead, but not one I can't deal with. I decided pretty early that Max isn't the way to go here. I don't particularly respect the damage output of Azumarill. And I don't have the right lead for it, or the most optimal lead to deal with that the Azumarill. So it's more, I'm willing to take the risk of a non-max Psychic straight into Azu. And if it maxes, it maxes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Based off of if Azumarill maxes, it'll tell me what their game plan is for the rest of the series. Or at least for the rest of the game. So a Fake Out goes into Musharna again. Really just to deny any sort of Trick Room shenanigans. And also we see Azumarill doesn't max, which tells me that they're wanting to max me like a Lando in the back. We see a Play Rough come out on Morgrem. And of course it procs a Focus Sash. But it tells me here that I can kill with a Psychic here. And they're probably not going to max again. So they probably have Landorus in the back. And that's where they're going to max, either that or a Venusaur in the back. If they plan to max. So I just go for the safe play. I'm setting up the Musharna to be killed later with a fake Tears. Because I just want to deal with it. Musharna's not really the mon that you want to switch out because it is the defensive pivot mon. If you have a Musharna in, if it's in the back, you're going to switch out one of your offensive mons into it. And if it's in the front, you aren't switching it out. So, I go for the fake Tears so I know it's very specially bulky. And I just kill the Azumarill. Which is a pretty solid kill, a pretty safe kill. Then we see the Dazzling Gleam come out, which means that we get a free switch on the Morgrem slot. Of course, it does mean Morecambe goes down and it doesn't get much more value, but it does allow me to do a bit more with the rest of my team. So I go for Naganadon next. And that's really because I want to start getting my offensive pressure out now. My team, especially the team I'm running this week, doesn't like to be ran too slow. So I'm thinking I can get a lot of max airstreams out and buff this Mesprit a ton. And then Mesprit can just go ham with Psychics and Ice Beams. So I go for a weird play here. I go for the Protect onto the Mesprit because I'm expecting a Shadow Ball into it. I'm of course not expecting a max on the Jolteon, it's way too frail for that. But then that Jolteon maxes. And of course that tells me that, right, they're not planning on dealing with it with a Lando. So it's probably a max Phantasm. Or if they're crazy, and they might just be crazy, something max into the Naganadel just to take it out. I think based off the play of this turn, they respect the Mesprit quite a bit. So they're gonna go after it. Naganadel maxes. And I go for the Airstream into the Musharna to see if I can kill it. Now, Helping Hand does come out. And of course, I get my Protect off, because I want to be sure that Mesprit lives. I have no clue if it lives the Phantasm through Protect, but I'm hoping. And we apparently do, at 30 HP, which is a weird thing to live at, because that means that's 2 Life Orbs. So if I get 2 attacks off without getting hit, that's 2 attacks off, and I die to my own Life Orb. And we see Musharna is just a tank. I have a very newfound respect for Musharna with how well it's been taking all of my special moves, even after a Fake Tears. Fake Tears is probably the right play as well, because being able to effectively take out the Musharna, even if it is a 3-hit KO, is solid. So I go for the Ice Beam onto Musharna just to ensure I get the KO. And I go for the Whirlwind onto Jolteon to see if I can kill that. I have no clue. I'm pretty sure Jolteon is just so frail. But I'm also very offensive on my Naganadel. So I specifically counted so that I could get the Beast Boost in special attack and not in speed. So I'm hoping a max Whirlwind here will take it out. But it tanks that. It does about 45% to the max Jolteon, which is about 90-ish out of max. And we see the Phantasm comes out onto Naganadel, which I think is a little bit bad targeting, not gonna lie. But maybe they just want to get the Naganadel out of the way. Had they got rid of Mesprit instead, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how this would have gone, but it's safer for differential, but it's not the safest play when it comes to how everything goes. I don't know, it doesn't seem like very optimal, but I could be very wrong on that. I don't understand Grant's team quite as well as he understands it himself. He's been rocking it. So we see the Lando come out. And here's my turn where I just get to click things. I just want to make sure that Mesprit outspeeds, and we can just let it kill things. So we go for the Airstream onto Lando, and then the Ice Beam onto Lando, and as long as Lando doesn't protect, we're good. It's a very risky play, a very bold play, but ultimately it's what's going to win us the match if we get it off. Because I know that Rhyperior in the back can easily take care of this Jolteon. It's literally just a matter of dealing with this Landorus, which I know the Phantasms have been setting up to do some work. So, Airstream comes out, tells us there's no protect. Great. We can just take out the Lando easily, and Mesprit is going to get its 6th kill with this. And with this 6th and final kill of the game for Mesprit, it also takes its first death, which is, yep, right there, to the life orb. Rest in peace. So the Phantasm comes out and does some decent damage to the Nagano, but doesn't take it out. And of course, Jolteon keeps getting the Life Orb chip. And obviously we know it's GG's right here. He's gonna detect, and we're just gonna go all out with the moves. And eventually Nagano picks up the KO with a Sludge Bomb. So, it's very much GG's to Grant. I know he's a very inexperienced player, and as someone that was in his shoes and was out of practice for a long time, going into the last season of MDL, I know entirely what it's like to just get shoved into this league and get your ass handed to you by a million different players. And it hurts no less to know that the bottom power ranked team is beating your ass. But I just want to say big props to Grant for being such a good sport throughout this whole set, especially the hacks and the Wiener at the end. He seems like a great player. He did a really good job adjusting for the main threats of the Jellicent and the Mesprit game 2. It's just, I did find out that he didn't have much on the Landorus for the Mesprit, and that's why he had to go for the Max Jolteon. So really, it comes down to prep and it comes down to team understanding. But I think if he can get some of those refined a bit more, he's going to be a very solid player in the future. And I am so fucking scared for Grant whenever he gets like in the zone with his teams and with his play. Because damn, that set was scary going through it. So massive props to Grant, GG's, and I'll see y'all next week when I face Hector. Alright, bye.